Joshua Fabia made an appearance on a podcast that I listened to earlier on today, where he addressed his breakup with Diego Sanchez, and I wanted to talk about it a little bit. But before I do, my name is Rahul J. Chan. This is the Battle Camp. Thank you very much for joining me. All right, man. This story has been going on for about 3 or 4 weeks in the world of MMA, and there's been a lot of developments, and it just seems like everything's been unraveling for quite a while now for Diego Sanchez and Joshua Fabia. And I intentionally haven't really spoken about it because, to be honest with you, it makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable. I wasn't going to make this video and talk about it even after their breakup last week. But I've decided to sit here and talk about Joshua Fabia because I didn't think it was possible for me to respect him any less until I listened to his appearance on this podcast. And he outdone himself because I now think he's an even bigger dickhead than I did before. But before I talk about what he said in the podcast, I think it's important to go back and look at their relationship prior to the breakup and what he said since. So prior to the breakup, right, a couple of points I want to make. I think it's very fair to say that Diego Sanchez, from a personality standpoint, his personality, I think it's very conservative. I think it's a mild assessment to say that he's got a very quirky personality. And if you follow Diego Sanchez, you'll know he's had his fair share of issues outside of the octagon in his personal life. And going back a couple of years, I remember watching an interview that Diego Sanchez did with Ariel Helwani during media day of Fight Week when he fought Michael Chiesa. So yeah, these were back in the day when Ariel Helwani used to turn up to media day events. And Ariel Helwani was interviewing Diego Sanchez, and Diego Sanchez went on this 10-minute monologue, tirade, rant, whatever you want to call it. And he was talking about how his life was in this dark place and how he's managed to turn things around and how things are so much better for him personally and how he's mentally and emotionally ready to make one last run at the welterweight title. And that whole kind of interview made me feel a little bit uncomfortable because people were making fun of Diego Sanchez, and I kind of felt a little bit concerned for Diego Sanchez because I didn't understand how he could think that he had the potential to become a champion at that stage of his career. But I just put that down to a man trying to get himself in the right mind frame before a big fight. So sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. But one positive that I took away from that interview is I felt like when he mentioned Joshua Fabia, and I think I've just said this, but if I haven't, I think it was one of the first times he mentioned Joshua Fabia as his new trainer, his new mentor. I felt like, okay, maybe this guy he can't improve Diego Sanchez enough in the octagon to help him become a champion, but maybe he can help be of assistance personally and help Diego Sanchez get on a kind of a stable path personally. A couple of weeks after that, I heard Joshua Fabia speak for the first time, and I thought, we're in trouble. Because when I heard Joshua Fabia speak, that made me feel uncomfortable. And I really questioned the reality that I feel like I base my perception in. And I feel like I base my perception, or I get my perception from the same reality that the majority of us get our perception from. I felt like Joshua Fabia and Diego Sanchez, their reality was very different to our reality, and their perception to what's going on around them is very different to what we see in terms of the MMA community, right? But in all of this, as things started to unravel and as Diego Sanchez started to make the headlines because of his coach, Joshua Fabia, one thing that Joshua Fabia maintained throughout all of this is his priority is Diego Sanchez and improving and helping Diego Sanchez as an individual, as a human being. He spoke at length about his training methodology, the school of self-awareness, being a mechanism to help you holistically. And that's what he was trying to do with Diego Sanchez, help Diego Sanchez and mentor Diego Sanchez to being a better human being, and thus being able to perform at his optimum inside the octagon. So that was his story, and he was sticking to it. That he is a guy that has Diego Sanchez's best interests at heart, and that was kind of what he wanted us to know from his point of view. The problem with all of these appearances that Joshua Fabia was having on MMA platforms is his actions as Diego Sanchez's head coach, as his manager, as his life coach, as his mentor. It didn't feel like those actions matched those of someone who has the best interest of Diego Sanchez as at heart. The unnecessary spats that he was getting involved in with MMA commentators, MMA media, the UFC themselves, were to the detriment of Diego Sanchez's career. But he still stuck to his guns about the motivation behind those kind of discrepancies with the people that he had them with were based in his drive of being someone that was putting Diego Sanchez's health and safety at the forefront of his thoughts when he was getting involved in those arguments, right? I'm saying all of that to say this. During his appearance in the podcast, I listened to him for about 5 or 10 minutes, and this lady, Summer Helen, now I don't know if it's a podcast, because I don't feel like it's a podcast, because she kept rushing Joshua Fabia. She kept trying to get to the end of the segment, it seemed like, and I don't know whether it's like a radio show or what it is, but someone like Joshua Fabia, you have to just let him speak and let him say things and let him contradict himself and use his own words against him. Because one of the things that I kind of rate this lady, Summer Helen, about is she was kind of calling Joshua Fabia out on his bullshit. Because when you ask Joshua Fabia a straight question, he loves taking his answer out to different tangents and not actually directly answering a simple question. And Summer Helen was very adamant about calling him out on those kind of his methodology of dealing with difficult questions. I just don't understand why she kept talking about spin throughout this podcast, and to me, someone that's involved in spin is just a professional liar, and she was fixated on that for some reason. But I mean, I don't know. One of the things that I actually did want to say is it kind of feels like this was a calculated move on Joshua Fabia's part, because I feel like he wanted to talk on a platform that isn't MMA related, and I feel like he felt that he would have more sympathetic ears on this podcast that he appeared on, and I feel like that kind of backfired a little bit, because these guys weren't very forgiving to Joshua Fabia when they were asking him questions. But the thing that really annoyed me the most about what Joshua Fabia did during this appearance is over the last couple of years, like I just touched on, his whole story has been his motivation and his prime concern is Diego Sanchez and his health and well-being. He went on to say during this appearance in this podcast that he believes Diego Sanchez has special needs. He's got issues mentally. Now, if you're the trainer, if you're the manager, if you're the life coach, if you're the mentor of a man that you have come to the conclusion has special needs in the capacity of all of those different roles that you play in his life, then surely it's your duty, it's your moral obligation to tell that man that, you know what, you shouldn't be fighting. You're not in the right place. You're not mentally in the right place to be fighting. So what does that say about Joshua Fabia as an individual? If now, when things have not ended, things have ended up the way you didn't want them to end up, where Diego Sanchez has walked away from you, why now do you feel it's necessary to come out in public and talk about where Diego Sanchez is mentally, when you were the guy that was closest to him throughout the last 2-3 years, and you painted this picture where everything is fine and dandy in the world of Diego Sanchez and the school of self-awareness, and it's actually everyone else that is actually not perceiving you guys the way you should be being perceived, and it's actually the UFC's fault. It's the commentators' fault. It's our fault as fans, because we're just trolls and we don't know enough. What does that say about you as a man? That's the real question, isn't it? That's the real question. But I just hope that Diego Sanchez, I think it's such a cliche when people say, I just hope he gets the help he needs. I don't know, man. I just hope he has the right people around him. I hope he has people around him that are able to just be a positive presence, and help him kind of get back to a position where he's not being taken advantage of by people like Joshua Fabia, because I feel for Diego Sanchez. I feel like he's easily influenced and easily led, and I feel like Joshua Fabia, I actually thought to myself, you know what, I feel like these guys just gravitated towards each other because both of them struggle to kind of keep their feelings and emotions and thoughts based in reality, and they've managed to kind of intertwine with each other and just go off into the stratosphere together. It's just us against the world. But I don't feel like that's the case after how things have unfolded. I just feel like Diego Sanchez was just taken advantage of by Joshua Fabia. I feel like I gave Joshua Fabia too much of the benefit of the doubt over the past couple of months, and I just feel like Joshua Fabia is a horrible narcissist. He's a nasty piece of work, and he's a disgusting individual. And I hope this is the last I have to speak about him, and the last that we hear of him when it comes to the sport of mixed martial arts. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. Put your comments below. Don't be scared to hit the like button if you've enjoyed this video. Share it with a friend. If you've enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I will put a link to the podcast that I've been referring to throughout this video in the description below, so you guys can have a listen to yourself. It's kind of towards the end, the last 10-15 minutes, where Joshua Fabia actually finally makes an appearance. You don't have to waste your time listening to most of it like I did. Yeah, let me know what you guys think. Put your comments below. I'll catch you guys next time.